Welcome to CraftLeftovers Live. I'm your host, Kristen M. Roach. I'm an artist, an author, an entrepreneur, and CraftLeftovers Live is all about just like living kind of my best creative, sustainable life and living, like making a living from what I've got on hand. Anyway, so I wanted to share them with you all. So you're gonna like CraftLeftovers Live if you enjoy your studio time and you've got a creative biz or you're thinking about starting a creative biz. So subscribe and you'll get those notifications of when I do go live or when there's new content available, which can be really helpful, especially because I don't necessarily post I'm not posting every day. I'm not doing that. Today, first of all, the really important stuff, I'm not drinking tea. I'm drinking coffee. And you know what's funny? It's iced coffee. It's really muggy out. It's cool, as the cardigan shows, but it's just muggy. And I was like, oh, yes. Give me the coffee. I need to wake up. Right after the live stream, I'm actually doing an interview. We're hiring at the shop. And so that's always a lot to try to squeeze in the morning before the shop opens. Anyway, so speaking of the shop, and by the shop I mean Little Woods Herbal, my tea and spice shop, that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about, because I think it comes up in Craft Leftovers, but a lot of those requests are via email. So it's like, it's easier to filter out and just make good executive cognitive decisions about. Where I struggle with what I'm talking about today, which is do it for the publicity. We've all heard those words, and sometimes it's true. And so, like, how do you make that distinction? How do you decide what to go for? And it's not always easy, especially when the person is standing right in front of you. You don't know this person, or maybe you do, and they're asking you, can you support this thing that they're passionate about, that they care deeply about? And they could care deeply about it for a variety of reasons. And you only have so much to give away for free. Like, it's just how it is. Like, you can't, just like your emotional energy, and part of this is about emotional energy, but like, you only have so much that you can expend out before you deplete yourself and start cannibalizing your business and hurting it. And the ways that happen aren't necessarily so obvious. So I wanted to make sure to be a little concise. Again, like I said, I have that interview in 40 minutes. So we're going to roll on through this. Okay, so first, how many of you have had someone approach you where they're like, this is such a great opportunity for you. You should absolutely do this. It's great publicity. It's amazing marketing. You're going to be getting in front of so many people. And maybe. And or maybe you do get in a bunch of people and then but does it actually help your business? Does it actually help you as a creative individual? Which is another whole other gambit of you can make really smart decisions for your business, especially short term, that are really terrible decisions for you as a creative entrepreneur, a creative business owner. Anyway, so I did not realize, and I'm gonna pretty much, I got this planned out. So, I did not realize when I opened a brick and click, or I guess it is a brick and click, but a brick and mortar store, that for the first time in my life, even though I had previously owned my own business for many years, over a decade, that by having that physical brick and mortar store, I was joining this interesting club called the Small Business Community. It's really a micro business community here in Ames. And, I just didn't realize it. I didn't even anticipate that was a thing There's a lot of other things on your mind when you're opening a small business, and you don't. Some people know this going into it because they're awesome and wiser than I am, but I did not know this, that it gets you into a lot of really funny situations, and it reminds me a lot of the pregnancy club that is also a little unanticipated when you get pregnant. It's like all of a sudden, everyone is an expert on your body and pregnancy in general and tells you how everything you are doing is wrong and the way you should do it instead. Yeah. Anyway, so business owner club, very similar. First is that if you work in your store, which a lot of us do, like on Main Street, a lot of the business owners are available on site at least part of the time. And so like all of a sudden, everyone has access to you, like random sales reps, public people who are, they're strangers to you. Anyone can just come into your store and try to sell you their service, tea, in my case, tea, product, their idea, and they do, and good for them. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. And I've actually made a lot of great connections that way. So I don't want to say like it's a negative. It's just not something that I didn't appreciate it when I first opened the business 7 years ago now. And so, kind of like the pregnancy though, like everyone knows exactly what you need to do to make your business a success. And they also know that if you keep doing what you're doing, you're absolutely doomed. And they tell you how you're going to fail. So like one that really sticks out. This was like 2 weeks after I opened the store, maybe even within a week after we opened the store. And this person came in and was like, wow, this shop is so amazing. This is so great. Wow, your teas are so good. This shop would just be so amazing in like a big city. Like I wouldn't expect to find it in Ames. I mean, I like it, but there's no way you can believe this is actually going to be a success in Iowa. I'm like, wow, that was both insulting at my own business prowess and like ability. Clearly I didn't think everything through, but like my ability to think things through that like whether or not this was going to be a successful business. I would definitely not do it if I was thinking it was going to fail. But also it's kind of insulting to myself and my fellow Iowans as like just blanket statement, kind of implying that we're uncultured idiots. I don't know, that have bad taste. And I was just like, would I honestly have spent so much time and et cetera on something I wasn't sure, at least in my mind, was going to work out okay? Anyway, so it was a little traumatizing because I just opened the business. I was very raw. I was very like exposed feeling. I hadn't yet figured out how to navigate my way through this very like public facing presence and that had become a big part of my life. When we opened up Littlewoods and we just hit about 10 years in business this summer and 7 years with like a physical shop, I just wasn't prepared for the torrent of unsolicited advice. And really the reason I bring this all up is something that's pretty nefarious in freelance and small business ownership. From everything from like social media to like painting a mural. And so what we hear is this will be so good for your business. It's such great publicity. That is like a kiss of death when people say that to me now. But I try not to let that cloud my judgment completely because sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's really true. So how do you tell the difference when, we're constantly getting these spam calls? How do you distinguish between the book deal and the book scam? Both emails that I have gotten and immediately just like, this is too good to be true. This is spam. One was actually true and they followed up, thank goodness. And that's what led to Mend It Better. But the other ones were absolutely predatory spam emails. the event that is trying to get free things and the event that is, or organization or, whatever the project is genuinely trying to help spread your reach to an engaged audience, and it will actually create long-term loyal customers for your brand. So the companies that's getting free product from you to sell, that they're selling and making money on to expand your brand to their established customer base, a lot of times really they're just expanding their own brand and getting a product for free. I like the company. It's a cool idea. As a customer, I would love this service. But as a small business, like a micro business, I'm like, there's no way that we can take 25% of our revenue of the year to make this happen for free. What I've learned is you've really got to set up your own rules ahead of time, and it's great to have a second person to bounce these ideas off of, or a staff member, that every time you decide to do something because it's great promotion, you got to realize you're choosing to not do something else. In my case, I need parameters so that way in the moment when that person is right in front of me making the ask, I can be like, I'm sorry, that doesn't fit our policy, or I have a pathway to defer them so it doesn't turn into a really long conversation, which is also very costly to our staff and customers and the business. So making the decision. First of all, here's where we're getting to the nuts and bolts. I'm going to stop rambling. So never say yes when someone first comes in. This works great for sales calls in general. I'm such a pushover, and I have bought random terrible products I didn't really want to because I was trapped by a really aggressive salesperson that would not leave my store. I'm never doing that again. It made me feel embarrassed and shame and gross, and then I hated the product, and we had to end up clearancing it out and practically giving it away. It was terrible. So I've trained myself and all of my staff to say, if anyone calls asking for the owner, immediately, even I say this when you get me on the phone, is they're not available right now, because usually I'm not. I'm in the middle of a product or project or with a customer, so I'm not available for a sales call right now. So they're not available right now. Can I take a message? And if they say, sure, this is so-and-so, and give you more details, or ask if there's an email they can send, or that kind of thing, then my staff will all say, oh, hold on a second. Let me see if they're if they have time for a call right now. And they're like, hey, Kristen, you got time for a call? It's so-and-so. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I know them. Or, and most of the time it's spam, let's be real. Most of the time it's they'll immediately hang up if you ask them if you want to take a message, or they'll just be like, no, I'll try again some other time. Especially if they don't know my name or they get my name wrong, that's also a good flag that it's just hang up. So now if someone comes in and asks for a donation, presentation, collaboration, etc., for presentations, collaborations, and etc., everybody diverts them to send an email. Just can you send the details of your request in an email? And if they can't articulate their idea in an email or send you official information about their organization, that's also usually a sign that it's not a good idea, that they're probably not going to be great partners or very supportive, that they maybe don't have things clearly defined in their mind, which are going to make the execution of the actual event, etc., less organized. Or if they're not willing to spend the time to write you an email, it kind of makes me a little less inclined to spend the time donating my a presentation or to collaborate with them. So it also gives you a little distance which this, again, like really important for me, gives you a little distance to like weigh those pros and cons without the pressure of being face to face. I'm definitely in that people pleasing category. And so like, I want to make everyone happy. And so that's a really hard situation for me to just give a hard no in. Though sometimes I will, if it's because I don't want to waste other people's time either. So like if I'm there, I'll just be like, I'm sorry, that doesn't fall in lines with our policy for donations or whatever. So now, yes, and I say in my notes yesterday, but it's actually been like a month ago now. I did an event for the promotion. And other than me like saying just about the dumbest thing ever, which I hope everyone just ignored and glazed over and completely immediately forgot, seemed like it went really great. And even since then, I've had new customers coming into the shop being like, I went to your PEO presentation. I'm really excited to try these teas. Can I get the tea we sampled? I'd like to try something new. I need an infuser. And so it's been wonderful. And I'm pretty certain like I've legitimately helped expand the reach of our business to new customers in the community that we're in. And, you know, they'll really love what we do, and they did not know we existed before this event. I've also feel really good that I've taught a whole group of folks about 40 people, some basics about tea, and helped them to expand their enjoyment of like what is a whole new beverage category for them. Like, that's super exciting and good. So like, how did I decide to say yes to this event when I've had a lot of other asks to do presentations and I've said no? Well, because I have a framework, because I'm a nerd. So here are my guideposts when I'm doing work for free. And I think I'm actually going to make this into like a little, I forget what it's called, but it's like one of those like if-then kind of flowcharts for you all. So you can modify this to your own devices. But basically, are they asking for money? And so I'm going to cover, let's see. I'm going to cover a couple different scenarios, mainly requests for donations, requests for my time, and requests for services in town and out of town. So that's kind of like what I'm about to cover. So first of all, are they asking for money or an in-kind donation or my time? If they're asking for money, no. Just no. We are a micro business. We make just enough to pay our staff, myself a very modest salary, and we just can't do cash donations except to one pre-planned donation every year to either the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation, the Iowa Arboretum, or Story County Conservation. And we rotate through and we base that donation on our profits at the end of the year. And so like, that's something that is in our budget. We've planned for it. It's really important to us, and it aligns perfectly with our core values as both individuals and as a business. All of those organizations do things that conserve, protect, educate prairie land, forest land here in Iowa, which is super scarce. Like, we have less than 0.07% remnant prairie and forest in Iowa. It's wild, and I get how that happens, but that's a different story. Anyway, so no cash donations except for what we've already planned in advance. Now, if they're asking for an in-kind donation, as long as it's not, and this is important to us, and it could be different for you, but like it could be the opposite, like we'll only donate to this political or religious organization, and that's fine, but it's just something you've got to decide in advance. So like for us, as long as it's not a political organization or a religious organization and they're in Ames, yes. Always yes. And I used to hem and haw over every single person who asked us for a request. And then I would spend like an hour or more putting together the perfect basket and deciding what value it should be and all this other stuff. And my friend Nadav, who is the OG owner, founder of Morning Bell Coffee Roasters, he gave me the advice early on to have just like a preset in-kind donation package, because he saw how much time I was spending on each organization's donation request, and it's really worked great. And he was like, and donate things that are going to get them to physically come back in your shop. So he's like, donate gift cards. It's fast, it's easy, any of your staff can do it, and it makes it so a person has to come and pick out something they're really going to enjoy. And so what we did, knowing that a lot of people might be intimidated by loose leaf tea, etc., we kind of give them a little bit of a teaser. So now anyone who comes in and asks for an in-kind donation for their fundraising event, usually it's for silent auctions and that kind of thing, or during like the stream cleanup, it was part of like a thank you package to their volunteers and that sort of thing. It's just a preset. There's a gift card, you get a tea, you get an infuser, and we put it in a cute little gift bag, and it's got green tissue coming out of the top, and it looks really cute on a silent auction table. It photographs really well, which some silent auctions need that. And then to really kind of go the extra mile for, and do our part for the people we're donating to, I actually write up a receipt for them that's like, so we have like a sales receipt book that does triplicate. So I write down everything that I'm putting in, the total value, because that's super helpful for their silent auction team, because that is a slog to try to determine values if you don't get them at the time of the donation pickup. And I give that to them, and then I keep one for our records, and then we can write off that in-kind donation as a charitable donation. And so then I give that to our bookkeeper. So that's kind of like our system, and it's worked really great. And it's brought a lot of people in our community into our shop that didn't know we previously existed. So again, like easy, yes. And so like thanks to Nadav for that pro tip advice. And the final note on that is the other great thing about that system is any of my staff can set them up with it. So it's not adding to my kind of endlessly open loop to-do list. Like, it's just, they come in, they ask, we just hand it to them, and they go, and it's done. And so there's nothing to follow up on later. And that also is really awesome. So now that's like asking for donations. If asking for my time and in Ames, I've kind of determined what works for us. So we need a minimum of 12 people attending, ideally more like 20 plus. Again, no religious or political groups. And the event time can't be longer than an hour. If they want like air pots of teas to sample, we can do tea catering for them, but that's regular price, or they can buy the teas from the shop and prepare them themselves for the event in advance. And so it really kind of just depends on their budget and their facilities. Believe it or not, I can actually give a tea presentation without having tea, and people have found it very enjoyable. So it's really up to them. And then I don't schedule more than one a month. Otherwise, it's too depleting and it doesn't leave time for other like paid opportunities. Again, going back to that, like if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? And then no more than one per group per every other year, or if it's like an ISU student group, like the Tea Club, we'll do that every year knowing that there's a new group, like a large turnover in their group membership each year for those student groups. Whereas like an established member-based group, like say a Rotary Club, they're not going to have more than 25% of their members turn over each year. And so we're going to be kind of speaking to the same people. So then it's like less of a good, it'll help remind and establish that relationship with those people, but it's not really going to be exposure to new audience. Now, here's where it gets a little sticky. If people come in and they want me to do a presentation and they're not in Ames, then it's more complicated. because anytime I leave the shop, I have to pay someone to work for me. So it's not just like my time, it's also my staff's time and like the prep time for the event and things like that too. So there has to be a speaking fee that's enough to cover someone else covering my shift, mileage and meals reimbursement, and a stipend for my time. And I have like either a half day rate or a full day fee. So, and both of them are not a lot. Like, I'm not trying to like, my speaking fee is not like $1,000. It's like $100, like if I'm not working at the shop and not getting paid there, like I need to be getting paid for my time too. So that's kind of what I tell people is like, oh, we only do free presentations for folks in town, but if you'd like me to come out of town, it's this much, generally speaking. For a longer event, if it's going to take the full day, it's this much. Because you really have to factor in that travel time too. So let's see. Okay, so then this is the other thing that comes up too. Are they charging for the event or service? And I think this goes back to that earlier story I was trying to tell you about, like, is the event really going to be, like, is it promoting your business to a group, or is it a company profiting off your donation to their customers that aren't necessarily going to translate to becoming your customers? So like, if they're charging for the event, then we need to be compensated fairly. And so then it kind of bumps back up to what I said about like covering staffing time and all that kind of thing. So this would include, like, even if it's in town, this includes like guest lectures at the university. All those students are paying massive tuition. They can afford like $100 stipend for a guest lecturer. And there are some guest lectures I would do pro bono, but they would have to be like perfectly aligned with our company values and missions, as well as our core demographic. Yeah, are they charging? If they're charging, you should be charging. That's kind of my opinion. So, and then what is the organizing entity contributing? They really need to handle promotion of the event, like if they're asking you to show up for free, they need to pretty much be offering everything. They need to be doing all the marketing, promotion, handling the membership and attendance, communication, registration, event coordination, venue reservation, and coordination of the event itself and like hosting. Like, you need to be able to like just show up, give your presentation and leave if they're not paying you. Now, if they're paying you, that's different. You need to be a good collaborating partner. And that's what I want to talk about next time. If you've enjoyed this episode and it's kind of made you think about things like about how you manage donation requests and that kind of thing, share a cup of coffee with me. Of course, don't forget, like, subscribe, leave a review, and all that goodness wherever you listen. So that's all I got. And actually, I do have something else, and that is an interview in 10 minutes. So until next time.